You never know what's going on. It's the HTM Hackers Hangout. We're live on YouTube now, so welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm Matt Taylor, OS Community Flag Bearer for Numenta. Austin Marshall is online from his home garage. David Ray from I don't know where. So it's somewhere reclined entirely. So anyway, so this is really just an open forum to chat. None of the Numenta researchers are here yet because they're all on a research meeting that's running long, but they said that they might pop in as soon as it's over. And I will talk about a couple of things that I wanted to talk about if no one else has anything to talk about. But instead of hogging the limelight and starting off with what I want to talk about, which is what I always do, let's just open the floor for anybody to chat. Does anyone have anything they want to get off their chest? You guys are so easy. Nobody's mad about anything.
I'm pretty mad.
Yeah? What are you mad about?
So I haven't actually followed up on it, but it seems our builds are broken as a result of some downtime on SourceForge.
On SourceForge?
Yeah. There's actually an issue, if I can find it. Oh. Let me hit core.
I thought SourceForge was totally out of the loop at this point.
Yeah.
I thought they and AOL were pretty much had the same.
Yeah, so you can imagine my frustration learning that I couldn't build. See how I could post a link here.
You can't build without an AOL account?
No. All right.
Oh, cool.
The thing. I actually haven't followed up on it, but at least yesterday was problematic for me.
Because of a Swig download problem. So Swig is dependent on some SourceForge build somewhere?
Swig is hosted on SourceForge.
Oh, of course.
Oh, this is like they're back to full capacity though, so maybe it's not an issue now.
Is this what caused the Bamboo outage that we had?
No. You're talking about the one that I was working on a few days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different issue.
Okay, let's not talk about that.
Not about that.
Okay.
Discussing a common theme. Hey, is it possible you guys can do like something people can do with Maven and host Swig yourself?
Yeah, so I think that's something that we should talk about. We shouldn't be dependent on
External.
If we are
Right.
SourceForge, we should at least have some sort of contingency plan for when things go down or they go out of business. Which
Did you guys notice?
Inevitable for a while now.
Did you notice the NPN fiasco last week?
Yeah, that doesn't affect us. Shouldn't. If it does, then I'll be really angry.
No, it didn't affect us. that would make me angry too. But same thing, you know. Don't go to production depending on other people's services.
Well, yeah.
Well, unless their services are a part of your service. I mean, if it's a production service. I mean,
I think that
NPM was not meant to be lent upon like that.
Yeah, I think the issue is more that they depended on it in a way that they probably shouldn't have.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the research guy says it's not going to end anytime soon, but let's make the safe assumption that they're probably working on something important, and let them work on it. Hopefully they can join in the next time. So I got a couple things I want to talk about, which is basically just like update on what the hell Matt's doing. First,
so what the hell is Matt doing?
What the hell am I doing? That's the question. So last week we had well, it wasn't last week, 2 weeks ago we had a meetup in the Bay Area that Shannon put on. And we had a good turnout, we had some good presentations, and Aaron Wright and I had a bit of a brain meld. We both presented on really similar topics, which was, you know, using HTM with streaming data, different strategies of streaming data into HTM. And he used Apache Flink, and I was using InfluxDB. And I think there's a good amount, at least, of ideological overlap in the way that we're thinking. So I had a chat with Aaron, yesterday, the day before, over the phone for an hour or so, just talking about streaming data and the potential future landscape for that. And we've also I've talked with Austin and Subutai about Flink as potentially a way to distribute and scale HTM processing in lieu of an HTM engine, or taking the place of that sort of in an applications architecture, which I think has a lot of potential, because you could expose data sources to Flink pretty easily. So if you can create some type of Flink architecture with the distributed HTM processing and expose a bunch of different streams to Flink, you can expose them all automatically to HTMs. And Aaron and I are brainstorming, and this is one of the reasons I put Riverview together, was to create some type of standard for consuming streaming data. And I think the more I think about it, there's these particular open data platforms that are emerging. Socrata is one of them. There's even OpenGov is getting into that business too. And we'll probably have a handful of them at some point that are providing live streaming public data for free with unauthenticated. And being able to create something to adapt those and expose them to the Flink infrastructure or whatever else could. No, sorry. My daughter is trying to bug me. Could be really powerful once we, well, right now. I think that if I had a few weeks, I could put something together to expose all the temporal streaming data in Socrata in a Riverview-like interface, so that anybody could just have a little Python client that consumes that data. It's a little bit tricky though, and I've talked with Socrata guys as well. Because their data is not indexed in a way that like calls out streaming data. You can't figure out which of their data streams is really a data stream. It could be just a bag of data, a spreadsheet, or whatever. Anyway, there's some complexities involved, but I think that's the way of the future. I would love to be able to have some type of distributed architecture where you could just drop in new data sources and automatically turn models on that start consuming those data sources, providing predictions or whatever. So that's one thing I'm thinking about. I've thought about that for a long time. I still think there's a lot of cool stuff that could be built in that direction.
They have to be Python clients?
No.
Because you mentioned Python, so I was just wondering if it would be limited to that. So you could do it in a language independent way?
Yeah, of course. So Socrata is just a REST API, and you don't need to authenticate at all. Riverview is also just a REST API.
Right.
No, it could be any language. You would just have to, the tricky thing is Socrata does not have a registry that keeps track of what of its data stream. It has a huge catalog of data across the whole world, but you can't tell what's temporal, what's not. So I wrote this utility called SodaTap that registers, like it tests out every possible data source and kind of just samples it to see if it's temporal or not. But there's some issues with it, like data cardinality. A lot of these streams have lots of different streams in them, and that's not called out. That's something that you have to investigate manually to find out. Anyway, there's more work to be done, but that's future vision, So there is a public data marketplace emerging today, right now on the internet, that nobody's like architecting. It's just happening, and I want to be aware of that. I want to make sure everyone's aware of that, because as it's happening, we can start building on top of it, and we can start making all of that data immediately available to HTM systems. That's what I want. So just different ways of doing that. That's what I was talking to Aaron about.
Awesome.
Okay, another topic, connected cars. Let me give you a link. How do I do this? So there's a hackathon coming up. Put it in chat. It's called the Connected Car Hackathon, and this is in Oakland, California. So it's a local hackathon. It's next weekend, April 9th and 10th. And Numenta is sponsoring this hackathon. So it's a small hackathon. It's not a huge deal, but they've got good data. So they're using an API called Automatic, which is a connected car API. Gives you potentially information about locations of cars, tracks, and then a bunch of metrics from the cars themselves, like being recorded live. So I don't know how they're going to do this at the hackathon, but apparently we're going to be able to use that API to build interesting connected car applications. So because this was, I thought, could be an awesome data set for use with HTM because it's got GPS, it's got streaming scalar numbers coming from cars, we approached them and asked if we could get involved. So I'm going to have a breakout session at this hackathon where I explain HTM and how it could apply to this topic. And we'll have a little booth there where we can give out materials and I can help people get started. And we'll probably give away some swag and stuff. So if anybody's watching this and you want to go to a cool hackathon next weekend, April 9th and 10th, it's in Oakland. It's connected-car.devpost.com. I posted it in the chat here. Come on out and I'll help you get started with NUPIC at least. So that's one other thing, which is good. So you may or may have noticed that I have started a new video tutorial series called HTM School. So I've been working on this for a week or so, and I have 2 episodes recorded, and I'll be working on a 3rd episode next week on sparse distributed representations. So it's on our YouTube channel. There's episode 0, which is just an HTM overview. And I think, I'm basically regurgitating stuff that Jeff has said. So it's not really original content. You've probably seen this before. But I wanted to make a 10 to 15-minute video that I could give to anybody and explain what I do, or what we do, what we're trying to do. And I think it achieves that goal at least. So in 15 minutes, here's what HTM is and why we're working on it and why it's important. So that was the main goal of that first episode. I'll give you a link to it. I don't know if this is going to work on YouTube or not, but I think I'll throw these links into the YouTube description if you're watching this on YouTube. There's the link to the video. So that's the first episode. The next one is really, these are really basic. We're starting from like nothing here. So the first episode, episode 1, is about bit arrays, which seems like extremely basic. Yeah, it's extremely basic, but I want to be able to explain this to my kids or my sister or my brother or whatever who's not in the computer field. And that's the place where you have to start, because that leads into sparse distributed representations, and SDRs are such an important concept to like truly understand and why it's important. That I think it warrants going to that level. So there's that, and I have this overall plan of 20 to 30 episodes. I don't know how far along I'm going to get. If there's a lot of views and they're popular, I'll keep going. If I'm not getting a lot of feedback and not many people are watching them, I'm probably not going to keep doing it. But we'll just see what happens. I've got a plan for maybe 5 or 6 that I'll probably do for sure, and we'll just see how it's received before we keep going on. And yeah.
Before you move on, I just wanted to add a little bit to that regarding the importance of bit arrays. The majority of my interview questions when I interview candidates revolve around bit arrays.
Really?
They're very important to us at Numenta.
Yes, they are. Yeah, so I go over like what an OR is, what an XOR is, what an AND is, and then talk a bit more about sparsity in general and the properties of a sparse array versus a dense array, and very obviously leading into SDRs. SDRs is a pretty big topic though, so I'm pretty sure I'll do 3 or 4 episodes on SDRs. So we'll see. Okay.
Yeah, if you explaining the information storage capability of a sparse array and why sparsity is important itself, that's going to be a mouthful for a layman.
Right. Yeah, so the groundwork is laid in that first bit array video, which makes it a little bit easier to do.
Right.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about is something I'm very excited about. I've talked about this in the mailing list and on chat. Is I've got all this garbage truck data. So it's a funny story. So I moved from Cupertino to Paso Robles, California, which is where I'm at now. It's about 3 hours south, and hooked up on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a social website for neighborhoods, and met a guy in my neighborhood named Jed Dawson, who is like the computer guy for the local waste management company. So the Paso Robles Waste and Recycle Company, they run all the garbage trucks, all the solid waste trucks, garbage, recycling, yard waste, all of that stuff. And apparently his family is involved in the owners, and you know, he decided he wanted to do computers instead of be a garbage man at some point. So he's like the computer guy for their garbage company, and he provides software for like neighboring garbage companies. So he's more than just their computer guy, but smart guy, fun guy. Met him for coffee a few times and talked, and he hinted at the fact when I talked about what I did and the type of stuff it was good at doing, and we could do GPS stuff. And he's like, well, I've got about 1,500 trucks over the past 10 years of data. And then he's like, do you think that would be interesting to process with HTM? And I'm like, yes. So as just a taste, I've got the past year, I've got 20 or 30 trucks of just the Paso Robles area, and his company, his general manager, has been nice enough to approve the public release of this data. He calls it the breadcrumb data from their trucks. And it's just latitude, longitude, and speed, and a timestamp. But
Awesome.
for all their trucks over the past year. So I've got all of that data online, and I've been working with it. It's been very fun. Let me see if I can. I always forget where it's at.
So I hope the mob doesn't come get you. We have to put you in the witness protection program. Shoot the hangout from Vermont or something.
Well, you know, I was a little bit worried, but so they've assured me that the data is fine, being public, and it's going to be stamped with an open data license soon. I'm just trying to get the official approval from their general manager over email that we can license this as open data, which essentially means anybody can do whatever they want with it, period. But yeah, I'm hoping we'll find some interesting things. So the nice thing is I've got a contact there, so I can ask him, hey, what are any interesting anomalies happen over the past year? And he can tell me, yeah, look at truck 60. So right now I'm processing truck 60 because he says something anomalous happened that they noted in truck 60 over the past year. So I'm currently got my CPU processing truck 60, and it's going to take a while because and you know, there's a bit of experimentation that I need to do here because I have to figure out at what the geospatial coordinate encoder has, I think, just one parameter, and that's scale. And so I'm doing a scale of 5 meters, and the other thing is, should I subsample or not? Because I'm getting data every 15 seconds. So I'm running some with subsampling, some without subsampling. It just takes a long time. So I've got a lot of different experiments to run to figure out the best setup for this. But it looks promising already. So I can already find some things where I'm like, yes, I see that track is not more anomalous on this Thursday than the last Thursday, and I can tell why. So at some point I'll have to come up with a way that I can scour all these tracks and, you know, automatically find the anomalous periods and highlight them somehow so that I can manually review them and see if I can find a cause. So that's what I'm working on, and I pasted a link. It'll be in the description if you want to see it. And it's all stuff. You can check out this repo. It contains all the data and all the code and run exactly what I'm running. I'm keeping it up to date pretty much constantly. So if you want to run these experiments, you can. That's what Matt's been up to. So, anybody? This is basically just like the Matt Taylor show.
I'm super excited to get in on that data. I don't know when I'll find the time, but I find it really compelling.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I want to bring this data to the hackathon, and I want to show them, here's what I found with a bunch of garbage trucks, because that's similar type of data. Hopefully they'll be able to
Definitely relate.
find.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great data set, really. And the cool thing is, so there's a couple things you could do. I'm taking the truck-centric route, so I'm going to create a model for each truck. And I'm breaking up, I think when I process the routes, I'll take any 4-hour break or a break of 4 hours or longer. I'm going to assume that they parked the truck for the night, and then a new sequence starts on the next morning. That's worked really well. It's like 4:30 a.m. the truck starts, rolls out, and it rolls back in about 4:30 p.m. and that's their day. But there's other ways you could do it that I think we could probably figure out how to make this work. Another way is, like, there's certain areas of town that get a lot of activity. Like, there's a lot of garbage trucks in the more populous areas. I would like to be able to draw a polygon of some sort and analyze an area and have a model for different areas in space and somehow, you know, process over time that, ignoring the fact that there are individual trucks, just something's moving from here to here, from here to here in this area over time. And I'm wondering if we could train a model to recognize the activity of things moving in space in an area instead of focused on an object. So that would be like sort of the next experiment I was thinking of doing.
Yeah, I think something that might be particularly interesting is, you know, you just moved to Paso Robles. I don't know how long or if at all your house was occupied, but let's say there's a change in residency, or a new house or a new property is built, or you know, there's a new road, or you know, a road shut down or something. It'd be interesting to see if you can pick up on that kind of data automatically.
Yeah.
Like a new stop added to the route or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we'll be able to catch some of that stuff. I don't know about a new stop, but I can't figure out how time sensitive it is yet. I haven't processed enough data yet. Like if a truck that usually drives by 30 miles an hour suddenly stops for 30 seconds at that spot and then continues on, we should be able to see that in the GPS track. But how sensitive is the HTM going to be to that? I'm not sure yet.
What I'm concerned about for the areas is stops and starts. So, like, if you have an area and you have objects which are present in there at time 0, and they move, if they stay in the area for an extended track, and then they tend to repeat that on a daily basis, then maybe you could get some traction there. But what if they just start in that area and like 5 minutes later they leave the area, and you get a lot of that? Like, you don't have a lot of movement within that area by the original occupants of that area. So then what you have is just stuff just for brief amounts of time just moving in and out. And I don't know if you can, you know, analyze that with HTM.
I don't either for the area-centric context. I don't know. Yeah, somebody on our mailing list was trying to do this a month or two ago, and I didn't have any good advice for him. I don't know how far he got, but you know, all of our current stuff is set up sort of an object-centric context, not area-centric. Right.
Well, it'll be interesting. It's a worthwhile experiment.
Oh yeah, and it's a great data set to try something like that because it's free and anybody can check it out and use it. So if anybody wants to try something that's never been tried with HTM, go to this Paso Trucks GitHub repo and try and figure out how to do an area-centric GPS analysis of these truck tracks. And good luck.
There's a couple other considerations as well. It may not be, I wouldn't say it's not a good idea, but I would consider trying to organize it by route rather than by truck. The particular truck, I'm guessing, you know, when you have the cycle of, you know, trash days, particular truck is going to have a different route each day, and that route is going to be cyclical. So it's always going to be same day of the week every week, but on a different day of the week it's going to be a different route because they have to be able to share the trucks that way. And I'm suspecting that not every truck always takes the same route. So a particular route might be serviced by any number of trucks.
Yeah, I've seen that. So it looks like there are primary trucks, and I've only looked at 4 different trucks out of these like 20 or 30 of them, and it looks like there are some primaries that typically will do the Monday through Friday routine. Every day is a different route, but then like there'll be just a Wednesday that's missing where they didn't go out at all. So you have to assume some other truck did that route because there was a problem with the truck or a guy took a day off. I don't know. So yeah, we're going to have that problem. That's going to be anomalous when this other truck that usually does another route is suddenly doing a completely different route. But is that something that the end user would want to know about? I don't know. Maybe that's valuable for them to know. Maybe they let their drivers make those decisions on their own, and it would be useful for them to have that data.
Well, the thing about what might be applicable to, for example, the connected car hackathon, in which you have buses and stuff, and buses have a similar sort of relationship. They have routes that they need to maintain independent of the bus.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree with you. Ideally, you would want a way to segregate by route, not by vehicle, for sure.
Yeah, and it'd be neat if you could differentiate between particular drivers. So if a route frequently has the same driver, and all of a sudden there's a new one, or the driver switches routes, and being able to pick up on that.
That's true. Yeah, because they're all going to be a little different. And I've already noticed little indiscrepancies between routes. I'll go plot 5 Thursdays and look at the routes over top of each other. And this one route, for some reason, they did counterclockwise instead of clockwise. And I don't know why. But Nupik notices. But it's a great data set, and I think this could potentially turn into some really interesting demos of what we can do with GPS data. So I'm super excited. And if Jed Dawson's watching, thanks, dude. It was really awesome of you to help me get this data out. So that's all I got, guys. That's the hangout. Thanks for watching, everybody, and happy HTM hacking. And hopefully we'll see one of you guys at this Connected Car Hackathon or whatever. If anybody has any feedback on HTM School, let me know.
I'm excited about it. There's some feedback.
All right. Okay, great. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.